Andersrum.
Test, 1, 2, 1, 2, amazing, it's working. So, hello everyone, I'm glad to be here. My name is Wagner. I'm from SUSE, which is not obvious because I have no branded slides, but just for the records I put a little comedian so obviously that you all know. Today I would like to talk a little bit about Ceph management with openATTIC. So let's start what I would like to talk about. First of all, I would say a little retrospective, where we come from, how the whole thing started. Then I want to talk about the key components like Sol and Vici or Visos Grafana. I know you heard almost everything about it, so I will keep this as short as possible. Then the main thing, openATTIC. I would like to talk about the new features that we have added the last few months. Then a quick outlook into the near future, and as I've already noticed, it seems like everyone likes moving pictures, so I prepared a live demo, so I will try to speak a little bit faster so that we have additional time for that. Hopefully the teasering is working, so I have to make sure that this is a fact. So let's start with the openATTIC retrospective. Initially, we started in January 2011. That was, the first commit to our repo. Then a few commits later, we already had something that looked like that. That was our web UI. Initially, we started the UI as traditional local storage management UI. That means that we were able to configure LVM, NFS, Samba, all those things, but all just on a single node system and just traditional storage, so no Ceph in mind at all. Next step forward was that we switched the technologies a little bit, so we moved from the XML RPC and the front end was written beforehand in XJS, and then we moved on to a REST API and AngularJS. As you can see, the web UI changed a little bit, but still traditional storage, no Ceph at all. This changed in February 2014 when we added the first Ceph management functionality to our UI. I know it's really hard to see. There is a new menu entry that's called Ceph. Oh yeah, it's really hard to see. But in that menu entry, you were able to click on that, and then there was this. This is the crush map editor. So we started with the visualization of an existing crush map of a cluster, and we added on top the possibility to create new rule sets, as well as drag and drop those inside the tree around and apply this to your cluster. This was the first functionality we've added. Then we extended this a little bit. We added some basic monitoring of the cluster, still based on Nagios, Bisinga, and PNP4 Nagios. As you may see, I guess those graphs look familiar to most of you, I think. And then something really important happened. Since 2017, we are focusing on Ceph only. What does it mean? We removed all the traditional storage functionalities from the front as well as from the back end, and we refactored a lot. So within openATTIC, there is no part that belongs to traditional storage management anymore. We are now Ceph management only and complete. With that in mind, I would like to jump to the key components. You already heard about Sol this morning, so I don't think I have to give an introduction to this. Maybe just a few bullet points. Why did we choose Sol as the underlying deployment tool? First of all, because of the scalability of Sol, up to thousands of nodes. Then the really cool thing, the parallel execution. I'm not quite sure if this was mentioned, I don't think so. was installed. If you trigger a command to your clients or your minions, they are called minions in the Solve speak, then those commands are triggered in parallel. So this leads to, on one hand, to a really speedy, really fast deployment tool, or at least the orchestration layer. On top of that, Solve used its own protocol instead of doing an SSH connection every time to the client, which is really expensive. Use its own protocol, which is much faster. As Jan mentioned this morning, it's based on YAML, so it's easy to get started. If you've ever written the YAML file, yeah, I think you're prepared for it to deploy the Solve, and yeah, still active and growing community. DeepC was also mentioned, so this part that DeepC is a, let's say, collection of Solve files that we are using for the orchestration and management of the cluster. That was already said, but maybe I should show you what's possible within DeepC so far and what's part of DeepC. Automatic discovery was shown by Jan this morning, then the deployment as well, the configuration and lifecycle. This is possible and could be done with DeepC. Then we have, I guess was also mentioned, we call it the engulf functionality. So if you have an old cluster that was deployed, to Ceph deploy, for example, you can import this into DeepC more or less, and then in the future deploy and manage the whole cluster with DeepC. We are able to deploy Rados gateways. We can deploy ZFS, the MDS deployment. We can create shares for ZFS and S3 buckets on top of NFS Ganisha. DeepC it's possible to create iSCSI target, still on top of LRBD. This will change in the near future to TCMD runner. Then it automatically deploys Prometheus and Grafana instance that we are, for example, using, and as well as the initial configuration of openATTIC is also done with DeepC. Prometheus Grafana, as I've already mentioned it in the slide before, what is that? Prometheus is a time series database that we are using to store the data after we gather them from our clients, which is quite cool. That for a visualization perspective, you need something more than just a time series database, because I guess end users usually like to see some graphs. That's why we use Grafana for. We just add Prometheus as source, and then Grafana builds this shiny, cool, fancy graphs out of it. One thing I guess Jan mentioned already this morning was that you are still able to use Grafana or the Grafana instance or Prometheus instance by default. So we don't install some specific things. We install Grafana and Prometheus as a whole. So you're still able to connect to, for example, Grafana to port 3000 and create your own dashboard if you would like. You can adapt whatever you want inside the settings, so there's a full-blown Grafana instance up and running. There's nothing special with that. Just want to mention this again. So let's jump to openATTIC. After we decided to be a Ceph-only management system, what were our goals? First of all, we would like to be an open source Ceph management UI. That is obvious. But second, we wanted to build a tool that an admin actually would like to use and wants to use, because as Lars mentioned, there are lots of UIs out there that are not really helpful, and at the end, you still do lots of things on the CLI because it's faster. You don't like CLI UIs in general or stuff like that, so the idea was to have something that has a real benefit. What we tried to do to make this happen was that openATTIC is, more or less stateless. So no information about the Ceph clusters are stored locally on the system. So we're gathering the data while you click in the web UI, we're gathering the data through the REST API and collect all of this to visualize it in the UI, which makes it possible that you can still use whatever you're familiar with. For example, go to the CLI, change something on your cluster, use your existing tools, whatever you use, make some changes, and those changes will immediately appear or will be shown in the UI. What features do we have with openATTIC 3.x so far? I mentioned the status part already. We added and replaced, you have probably seen we had before PNP for Nagios, basic Nagios with Singa. We replaced this with Prometheus and Grafana. We have some basic OSD listing and management. We are able to create and delete edit pools and RBD devices. We have a node view. You can get a list of the whole nodes that are part of the cluster. We can monitor them with the Prometheus exporter automatically installed during deployment. We can create NFS shares based on NFS Ganesha. We can also create iSCSI shares within the UI that specify the authentication, for example. We're able to manage the object gateway, as well as we are fully compatible with Ceph Luminous. So the newest release is already supported, and we started to add some features that were shipped with Luminous. For example, the pool compression is already part and included in the UI. During the refactoring, we also tried to add a few more things in the UI to the end user. So, for example, if there is something misconfigured, we try to make it easier and to give the end user a hint what is wrong. So I will show you this later in the live demo. This is how the openATTIC architecture looks like from an openATTIC web UI front point of view. We are ourselves querying the own REST API, so we don't have to use a way around it to the openATTIC backend. The backend is completely written in Python. And then we're gathering and querying the data on a different ways from the Ceph cluster. First of all, we query directly the graders, then the Ceph object gateway. We're querying the Salt API from DeepC, the Salt REST API. DeepC then gathers the data and gives us the data to visualize in the UI. And last but not least, we embedded the Grafana graphs. That's it so far from openATTIC. And now a little outlook into the near future. As you can see, this is our login page. Quite impressive, right? We have a logo and really cool, amazing. So this is not the outlook. The outlook is, as Lars already talked about this morning, I guess John and Jan as well. All of them were talking about a new dashboard. I had no clue what they were talking about, but I think what they had in mind is this. Really cool. openATTIC goes upstream. What does this mean? We changed the logo. Thank you very much. And that's from my end. If you have any further questions, just kidding. There's a little bit more behind. As mentioned this morning already, since Luminous, the Ceph Manager dashboard is shipped by default, but the Ceph Manager dashboard is just a read-only dashboard with a subset of functionalities to visualize a few things, but the whole management part, so the administrative part is missing. And we decide maybe with our knowledge and existing or parts of the existing code base, we could help to speed up this dashboard a little bit. So what we're currently working on is we are porting the existing Ceph Manager dashboard to Angular, so that's what we are using. And on top of that, we are merging and adding our management functionalities into this. And the long-term goal is, as soon as we have covered the superset, to merge this new module upstream, and in the near future, the idea is to have a new default dashboard, more feature-rich dashboard. That's the idea behind it. So it's more than just a logo, so just keep that in mind. If you're interested in what we're currently working on, it's under heavy development. Right now we are still developing in our own repo in openATTIC Ceph, but I don't know, I can't make any perceptions, but I think in the next 2 to 3 weeks, this will change, and we will merge the first draft upstream, and then we will work in the upstream Ceph repo. So feedback is totally welcome. And with that said, as mentioned, I would like to show you a live demo, and hope my teasering is working. Where is my? There it is. Is that working? Yeah. So I'm not quite sure. I've preloaded this, as you can see. So I skipped the login screen. You have already seen the login screen. I know it was impressive, but this is our dashboard. How it looks like. Our main dashboard. They get a quick overview about the status of the Ceph cluster. How many monitors are in, how many pools, capacity, all the kind of stuff. Seems like I can't move the mouse. I can't move. That's amazing. Why? That makes it really challenging because I can't use my mouse. Yeah, I know it's moved, but it's really laggy. Now it's working. It's strange. No, now it's not working again. That's cool. I guess that's a projector thing, right? Maybe full screen? Yeah, no, it's not working. That's really cool. Someone has an extra mouse for me? Behind the laptop. Oh yeah, amazing. I'm not quite sure if that will work, but we'll give it a try. How can I get this outside? Now lighting was working, but my mouse seems to be kind of broken. Yeah, now I can do things. Now I can switch to slide screen and move. Oh, amazing. A round of applause, please. So this is, as I mentioned, the initial dashboard with some nice fancy graphs, and as we just embedded Grafana graphs, we still have the possibility of drag and drop, zoom in to whatever you're interested to. All the graphs will automatically update to the timestamp that you've chosen. This is really nifty. By default, we're shipping more than just a cluster dashboard. We also ship a dashboard for OSD, Object Gateway, then the users, pools, RBD, and node statistics. If the deployment is done with DeepSea and on all the nodes, there is the node exporter installed. We are now able to also gather data and node statistics. So just to show you this, here you see, for example, this is just node 1 with CPU, memory, network traffic, disk utilization. And if I'm interested in another node, for example, I would say node 4. Yeah, looks quite similar, I know, but the graph has been updated, you have to believe me. Maybe you can choose another one. This is all. Yeah, no, it's different. So this is how we're displaying the node statistics. Maybe just another one, just as an example. I will not go through all of this. This is the pool overview. Where we can see, for example, the objects and pools, the IOPS on this pool, as well as the throughput. So I guess this is a lot of improvement compared to the Nagios we had before. On the OSD tab, we're able to list all the OSD that belongs to the cluster. Someone at FOSDEM at the weekend asked me how this thing scales with thousands of nodes. The cool thing is there is a pagination included, so it doesn't matter. You can specify how many items you want to list, you want to show on one page, and we limit this to 100 entries. So this is not a big deal. And as you can see, if you click on a specific OSD, you get those specific graphs there as well, directly embedded of this OSD. What we added as well is the possibility to configure a cluster-wide OSD flags. So for example, you can set no scrub, no descrub, or if you would like to call it a day, just set a pause flag and then call it a day, or it goes a weekend, whatever. Performance tasks that you could do trigger from the UI scrub and descrub. so you can directly trigger this with the UI. RBDs tab, if you click on an RBD device, you get some initial information about it. Then this is consistent on every page. You can click on statistics and you get, if there are any. I set up this demo a few minutes ago, so there are no data right now. So if there were any, you could see some graphs here. So maybe to show you how you can create an RBD device, just specify, for example, the name, select this pool, which one should I choose? This one, 1 gigabyte. And in parallel, I can show you another cool functionality. It's right here. Can you read this? No, not possible. We have a functionality or a button that's called where is it? API Recorder. What this does, you click on API Recorder. Now I click on Create to create this RBD device. And I hope my demo won't crash. Nice, amazing. Now I've created the RBD device. That was easy. Now I click on Stop on this API Recorder again. It's really nifty. What it does is it just tracks all the REST commands that we've done to the API and creates a little Python script out of it. This could be just copy and paste, adapted, so there's no need to read the documentation because usually I hate it as well. So you can just click through the UI, figure out how we're calling the API and embed it somewhere. Maybe I should stop here. On the tools page, yeah, just listing the existing tools. Same here, you get initial information, get statistics about this tool. If you click on the statistics tab, that's is it too little? Better? Of course, no problem. Just to show you how to add a new pool, just to show you what's possible. You can create a replicated pool, you can create a erasure-coded pool. This will automatically add or remove the fields that are necessary. Now with Luminous, you have to set an application to your pool, and then you can create it. So this is not really fancy, but it's possible. That's the thing we added with the newest version as well. This is one of the things I mentioned earlier, one of those hints. You now get information that you have changed something and you have unsaved changes. Do you really want to leave the page, for example? Within the node list, you get a list of all the nodes that are part of the cluster with some more details. If it's deployed with EG, you get information about the roles, for example. This node I selected here is a storage node, monitoring, iSCSI, MDS, Ganesha, and Manager at the same time. So this is kind of hyper-converged. You get some initial information, and you can perform on those specific nodes you've selected. We are planning on adding more in the near upcoming future. iSCSI, I mentioned this, so that it's possible to create iSCSI shares within the UI. And I hope keep doing this was working. Here's the initial iSCSI share that was created during the initial deployment. You get as well some information about the portal it's shared, then the image which is added, authentication model. One thing we added to iSCSI and NFS is the possibility to manage the service. So if needed, you could start and stop iSCSI as well as the NFS service on the gateway. That's something we added to the UI as well. Just show you how this module looks like. I just have to check time. Oh, I'm good. Perfect. You have to specify a target IQN, then you have to specify a portal you would like, specific portal doesn't matter. Then the image you would like to share, a new demo image I created, and then we added, I think, almost every authentication level. So by default it's username and password, but as well you can configure user authentication and discovery. And if you want to be really serious, you can combine all of them. but I've never seen something like that. I would be really interested in if someone combined those three mechanisms. That I'm not quite sure if this really works, but I would like to see something like that. But at least it's possible we add it here. Switch to NFS. With NFS, I can show you another of those hints and improvement we've added to the UI. So if we add an NFS share, because there weren't any before, someone is using all my bandwidth. Then you can select the host, for example. You can say, okay, I want the FFS share, specify the path. Then you can also specify the access types. You can add clients that have access to it, for example. All of that is possible within the UI. If you need more clients, just add another client and yet another client. So this scales up to, I guess, a bunch of.
Well, the thing about the Ceph path might be interesting that it does autocomplete. So if you have a very nested structure with Ceph,
that's true.
Make it very easy.
Yeah, there is none beforehand, but if it's right, just repeat that. As there is no structure created now, but if there were, the Ceph path has auto-completion. So it will tell you, okay, there's already whatever, dash Ceph, dash home, dash what, I don't know, and then it will do auto-completion and tell you, okay, this path already exists, and this one, please choose another one. Objects gateway, we're able to manage user and buckets. This means not that spectacular. Okay, yeah, during the initial deployment, that's one thing I can just mention. I thought I deployed one, but it seems like I didn't. So I forgot in the initial deployment to specify, as Jan mentioned in the policy CFG, to specify that I would like to have an object gateway. So now it's not deployed, and you get this really cool, I would say, helpful hint more or less in the UI that it tells, okay, maybe you have done something wrong during initial deployment, or your credentials are wrong. Please go here, enter this command as your administrator node, and get information what's wrong. For, I would say, maybe sentimental reasons, we still have the crush map. So this was the first thing we added, and we still have it. Maybe it's not as cool as it were before, because we decided to switch from a drag and drop tree to a view only, because we figured out that with the old model it was really easily possible to add new rules, track everything around, and then click on, yeah, apply, I'm really sure, why not? And then, to be honest, I'm not sure allowed to say that you were fucked, because the whole cluster was busy and everything went down. So currently we're working on something. This is a little bit more major, something that looks more like, I would say, configuration wizard that guides you and tells you, okay, this is maybe a stupid idea, so much data will be shuffled around. So for the time being, we decided this is a view only. User, of course, we have the possibility to add users, which is not that spectacular because, it's just user management. And by default, if you really want to do something within the UI, you need all of the flags, so all of the users. There's no real user management implemented into openATTIC so far. That's to be done. Last but not least, a little improvement is the settings page. I would say a big improvement from the configuration side of life. The path to, for example, the Salt REST API. Can you read this? Salt REST API and the authentication shared secret can be specified within the UI. Same for object gateway as well as for the Grafana node. There you can specify the port. If you have Grafana installed already in your infrastructure, just add it here. That's no problem. As well as the path to your ceph.conf and the key user. That all could be specified within the UI. much more will come in the next releases. Just one thing I want to mention is, I know this looks not really helpful, but at least it is for us, is this little feedback thing. If you're interested in, would like to test it, please, if you found something. Nevertheless, if the whole thing crashes or you found a bug, whatever it is, please open an issue, create a bug, and don't just run away and say this is shit. This is bad, this is not really helpful. Make use of this feature, click on report bug, and you are directly guided to our upstream tracker, create an issue, and tell us what was wrong. I know it's really cool to hear that the UI is useful and helpful, but it's even more helpful to hear what we can improve and what we could do better in the near future. And with that, I think I'm almost done, and I would like to go to questions, if there are any. Is there a microphone? Yeah. There were questions.
A question concerning the RDD. Do you show also the snapshots of the RDD and the management component?
No, no, no.
And migration for OC to BlueStore, is it implemented?
This is not implemented within the UI. This is part of the deployment tool we're using deeply. So if you want to migrate from FileStore to BlueStore, this could be done with the key. But there's no button in the UI migrating.
Hello, thank you for the good presentation. If you are talking about the UI, and you are talking about system users and system administration there, there are some environments which are required to have some kind of two-factor authentications for the UI for doing administrative tasks, which is in this case can like break your whole set of cluster if you do something wrong. Do you have some kind of plans implemented in your UI?
For two-factor authentication, as I mentioned, the whole user management is not implemented so far. It's really fundamental. It's just one user. You can add another or add a bunch of users, but it doesn't matter. At least they all have the same administrative rights. So the whole part is missing. But it's a really good point. This is something we have to keep in mind when we build up the whole user management. But to be frank, this is not implemented so far.
I mean, if you implement like values or MDAS identification method for your users, it's like half.
Exactly. That's one of the ideas that we have in mind to do exactly that. There was another question, right?
Yeah. Thanks for the great work. So, UI is really fancy. So, my manager will be really.
So it's good, right? I wasn't quite sure if it's good or
what about existing clusters? So am I possible to, just put UI in front of existing clusters?
Yeah, that's possible. The only thing that would be missing so far is the iSCSI and FS part. Because to be able to create iSCSI and FS shares, we are querying the source REST API and in the backend DeepC. So this is still back to DeepC, but everything else works out of the box with every.
Perfect. And other distributions. So if I'm not using SUSE or openSUSE, am I able to connect to a Red Hat cluster? Or
we have packages for CentOS as well, so it runs on top of CentOS. But currently we're working as soon as the little work to get this thing upstream is done, then we have to plan it, or we have to support the other distributions as well. Yeah, of course.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, that is welcome, of course.
Just wanted to add, my colleague installed openATTIC on Debian last week with our own cluster on Ubuntu basis, so it's definitely moving.
Yeah, nice.
Sounds good.
Nice, perfect. Good to hear that. So now, it runs on Ubuntu as well. Other question?
Did you plan, sorry, I missed it. Did you plan to have like daemon configuration or able to change like, you know how you can inject arcs throwing demons and Ceph?
Yeah, I know.
This is one of the more common things that we need to do, but it's really hard.
Yeah, this I would say is on the roadmap, and if you want to get a clearer statement, I think you can directly discuss this with Lars or then.
So as openATTIC migrates into the Ceph Manager, the Manager has a config browser that
It's a browser only.
But once you have the browser, actually changing the values there is not that far away.
That's
so
true.
So that kind of functionality, especially when Ceph starts managing its own config, then it will become a lot easier.
Yeah, you're right. Another question.
So while the current Ceph Manager dashboard is not as fancy as yours, it works standalone. If ATTIC will be integrated upstream, does it have a requirement for external time series data in Grafana?
No. Short answer, no. Yeah, optionally you can, but there is no requirement to have this.
Do you have any kind of audit log or rollback facility for configuration changes?
No, not so far, but I guess Lars asked for this, I guess, many times an hour. But yeah, I know almost every customer asks about that. So no, not implemented so far, but on the roadmap. Yeah. Anything else? Another question. Seems like one interesting.
Will this also work for a Joule cluster? Or do you recommend Linux for Ceph Manager stats?
It should work. I haven't tested for quite some while because we developed on Linux, but should work on Joule as well. But it's just, as I said, it should.
The manager part,
Yeah, I know, the magic part not, but we don't use them yet. So with the existing functionality, that should be one way. If there are no further questions, thank you very much for your attention and